Okay, well, you know, I kept saying I wasn't going to get into this, and then I finally got to see these guys without all their armor on Mad Hatter reviews, and I like them. I did. I was like, okay, these look pretty okay in their Thundercat forms, so I'll get them, try them out, see what I like. And the irony of this video is, this is the last thing I filmed, but it's going to be the first thing on the video. So, yeah. Anyway, we got Lion-O, we got Cheetara. So, without further ado, let's get them out of their plastic prisons. And here we go. Thundercats are loose. Manner of speaking, anyway. So, yeah, you've got alternate stuff with Cheetara and Lion-O to add with the figures. One of the things I really like is sort of homage. You can do this or that. Nice. I dig little things like that. Anyway, I am not a huge fan of these. What do you call this? It's not armor because it doesn't really cover enough. More like a boot plate. So yeah, this is not the looks I'm going to keep them at. Again, I just wanted a couple of cool Thundercat figures. I wondered about these when I saw them on Mad Hatter when he put them back in their Thundercat modes. I was like, oh, this rocks. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll do that off camera. Okay, so Lion-O was simple enough. I did leave his bit of arm armor just because I thought it looked cool. But the rest of it wasn't too tough. Cheetara, ugh. That is some form-fitting armor. I bet I'm going to have to take it apart in the middle. So, I started to mess with it, and then I'm just like, I'm too tired. And anyway, only Lion-O and this guy are going up on the shelf anyway. So, you know, not that I hate Cheetara, but Lion-O is drunk. And I haven't put the boots on yet because that's gonna be fun. I gotta make sure I don't put the wrong foot on the wrong leg and all that. So I'll do that at a time when I'm less tired from work. But so yeah, these are some decent Thundercat figures. And that's what I wanted, just some decent Thundercat figures. I mean, Super 7 has cornered the market on them for so long that I'm honestly bored, and plus it's way overpriced. And well, let's face it, the quality isn't there either. And you know, why hasn't Mattel just done their own Thundercats? They own it, for crying out loud, but they're licensing it out to everybody else. So that's where we're at. You know, again, I was only a mild fan of Thundercats. I would watch it if it was on, but it wasn't my favorite. I didn't like the toys because they were so, you know, they were big blocks. You know, and okay, yeah, it was nifty that you could make Lion-O's eyes light up and stuff like that, but you know, of course by then I'm supposed to be out of toys, but you know, for whatever reason, I wasn't. And you know, but the toys didn't appeal to me. I did have a few from the 2011 cartoon line, the 1/18 scale ones. They look a lot more anime, but yeah, they're okay. The Mumra in that is pretty good. Speaking of, that's who I need to get next, is Mumra. But yeah, I dig these. You know, I kind of dig having Thundercats in origin kind of style. I think that's kind of cool. And yeah, so I need to get Skelra still, but I'll get that soon. And yeah, then wait on Wave 2 whenever that shows up. So yeah, I'm kind of glad Mad Hatter turned me on to these, because these are fitting the bill for what I have always wanted out of Thundercats. And you know, some may say, oh yeah, you're settling. Maybe, but you know, I don't think it looks terrible. I'm sure some expert like Lyle Convoy would point out everything wrong with it, and I'm not going to deny him that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, for what I want, a mild fan that I am, I like Thundercats, but, you know, I'm not going to collect the whole line. You know, I'm going to get the main cats and the main bad guy and move on from there. That seems like a sensible way to collect this line for me. And on top of that, I'm not doing anything else with He-Man Masters Universe Origins. You know, there's literally nothing else that's... If you like if you like the Snake Lair, go ahead. I'm not telling you not to. I'm not going to. Does that make it easier? Yeah, that's just me and how I am. Anyway, I didn't get into the Turtles crossover because, well, you couldn't do this with the Turtles. You couldn't make them into the original look. So, yeah, I think if you could have done that with the Turtles, I might have gotten onto that line a little quicker. As it stands, I only got a Skeletor, who looks like he should glow in the dark. And that's why I got him, because he looks like he should glow in the dark. Okay, but anyway, look for Lionel to be somewhere over here next. And then we'll see how it goes from there on. Okay, thanks for watching. Get ready for some more. I'll go over some of the cartoon collection next. Okay, so I wanted to look at Battle Cat Man. Kind of on his own, kind of separate from everybody else, because I found this one more interesting than the rest. Just simply, whose idea was it to make Battle Cat a dude? And why? What does that mean for us going down the road? I don't know. Let's find out together. So yeah, this dude is goofy. I love it. We have a comic book, which I did not expect much out of, and there's not much here. It says somehow there's a merger between Skeletor and Mumra. It doesn't really explain it very well. And then Lino calls the Thundercats, and they're facing Skullra. That's literally it. It's like 4 pages. What can I say about this? It's just, you know, I'm kind of glad I didn't get into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover, because, you know, what I didn't like about that is you couldn't strip down the turtles to be turtles. I mean, if you could make the turtles just the regular turtles, that would have been fun. You can do that with these Thundercats, though, and that's pretty cool. You can lift off his mask, and you get, it kind of looks like Cringer, it kind of looks like Battle Cat. You can kind of go either way with it. These claws, actually, these things fall off way too easy. I kind of don't like them. Even I like the design, but I don't like them. I do like that these seem to have closer to the cartoon collection origin figures, so that they can stand straight up instead of being hunched over. I get why they had them hunched over. I mean, they want to look like they're in action poses, but then, you know, and I'm talking about the origins that were coming out for years. I did pick up a few of those at clearance, and, you know, they're okay. But to me, this style's a little bit better. And of course, he's as partsy swappable as any of the others. I have not seen too many people try to do customs with these, even though right in the box, do I still have it? If you've opened any of these, you've seen it. Right in the box, they have instructions on how to, you know, pop everything and, you know, put them back together again. Okay. But, you know, I've also not been seeking out any kind of customization with Masters of Universe Origins, so that is probably playing a part. Anyway, like I said, I dig this. It's really cool. Still have that crazy flat waist articulation, but it looks better. I mean, you know, it's not got as many gaps in it. I just kind of dig this because it's funny. It's just funny to have a Battle Cat guy. I kind of hope they do a Panther with it. Not Panthro. Panthro is coming, but yeah. And as far as this crossover goes, the main cats is all I'm committed to. Lion-O, Chitara, Panthro, and Tigra. I know they'll do the kits, but I'm not sure. Snarf will be in there somewhere. You know. And I'll probably get a Skullra from Mumra. But, you know, I'm not overly committed to this line. I don't see me... I just wanted some decent Thundercats. Because that's like one of the things missing in my collection. Is some decent Thundercats. And these look like they're going to be decent. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy with this. But we'll see. Next, I'm way behind on my Origins. So, let's take a look at some cartoon collection and some other stuff. And as I said, I've been collecting the cartoon collection. I've really enjoyed the cartoon collection. Especially now that I have She-Ra. And you know what I really like about this She-Ra? She looks exactly like she did in the cartoon. I'm sorry, I like the She-Ra cartoon. Even though, you know, I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be grown out of this shit. And I'm sitting there watching She-Ra. And, of course, with She-Ra, I did get Catra. I'll talk about in a minute. But She-Ra's got her sword, got her shield. And I think she looks cool. I really do. I like her. Again, this is a toy I would have wanted as a kid, and you know, not only is it good, it's improved with better articulation. Same with Catra. If you ever saw the She-Ras, man, they wouldn't have matched with Masters of the Universe anyway. So that was always a thing that I never saw anybody talk about. I don't know. I don't know why. But Catra, not my favorite character, but not my least favorite character. I needed somebody to fight She-Ra, though. So yeah, I got Catra. And I kind of like, that might be it for me. Because I think that might be the end of the line for me. That doesn't mean there wasn't a few more gotten. I just think that's going to be the last one I get. Again, don't hate the figure. Don't love it either. Going again, Tri-klops, because I had to get the bad guy trio, you know, of Merman, Trapjaw, and Tri-klops. Those guys were all idiots together. And I was surprised he didn't come with his sword. I was a little disappointed in that too. But be that as it may, still, you know, you just move on. And don't really know what else to say. I mean, these guys are all using kind of the same buck. So, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with these guys. And, I mean, but you expect that walking in because that is a staple of Masters of the Universe. That is how that line was made. And it's not a terrible thing. It's not a great thing, but it's not a terrible thing. Again, running with the cartoon collection, I also got Stratos. Because I wanted Stratos, man. Again, one of the essential good guys. For the most part, the first season is kind of where my hat hangs as far as He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I was not big into Web Store or any of the others, but, you know, there was, like, Stratos and Man-at-Arms and Tila, and those were, I thought, were the main good guys, and the main bad guys were, like, Skeletor, Beastman, Merman, Trapjaw, and Tri-klops. So, secondary heroes is Hoardak. And I was going to do this with an AJ and Hoardak video and go, oh look, mini-me. So you can just imagine that on your own. But I do like this Hoardak. He's more cartoony. And that's a good thing because I think he looks better cartoony. Honestly. I've never been one of those guys who said, oh, I got to buy the whole horde. That's why I've not bought I bought a Origins Leech, but I did not buy a cartoon collection Leech. I wasn't worried about Grizzlor or Mechanic, or what was it? Damn it, Moculok. Yeah, I mean, I was just not, Hoardak himself was cool, and I thought Leech was cool, but you go past that with the Horde with me, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I just don't feel it anymore. And that's me talking. You don't have, I shouldn't even have to say that. That's me talking. I mean, I was one of those kids that jumped out that year that everything crashed. You know, we all know it. The first year was like, wow, overshot sales by millions of dollars. Second year was even better. Was top of the food chain for the toy world. And then the third year just dips out, and that's me. I dipped out. I still love that original aesthetic and original vibe, but you know, that's kind of what I buy into, is that area. I see these guys like, you know, Clamp Champ and, you know, all these characters. I was kind of like, when I saw them as I was a teenager, but when I saw them I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding. And you know, Mossman falls into that as well. Even though I made a joke out of him, Mossman falls into that. Ram Man was another one cartoon collection I had to get. Ram Man was where I stopped on Masterverse because I saw the rubber tearing on his legs, and I was like, no, I'm not buying something that's tearing up like that. And I was kind of glad I didn't get it early, because that happened much later. And it kind of reminds me of what we're seeing with the Hulk chest. So, you know, omens, guys, omens. The only thing I hate about this Ram Man is he doesn't have an axe, and I think he needed an axe. That's just me talking. I gotta talk about, I think it's so hilarious that we have this figure, Faker, who is just He-Man. You know, with glowing eyes. Because in the cartoon, that's what he was. He was He-Man with glowing eyes. And in fact, I made up a story of how Faker turned blue through Skeletor's magic or something, just to compensate for that after that appearance in the cartoon. And it was weird too, because Skeletor just points, I'll make my own He-Man. And he makes his own He-Man. I'm like, dude, if it was that easy all along, why weren't you doing that? Just pump out a bunch of He-Mans to fight He-Man. Boom. You win. But no. And apparently He-Man had a big trouble with that fight because he was fighting himself. But again, Skeletor never learns. And you know, by the end of the episode, it was kind of like, oh well. I mean, what you gonna do, right? And let me see. There's a bunch more Origin figures that I could talk about, but I think I'm going to save it for another video, because that one I'm going to include some Masterverse too, just to have some stuff and just have a lot more. But that will probably be my last pure He-Man video that I do, because this train is getting ready to stop and we're getting off it, or I'm getting off it. Now that doesn't mean I won't pick up a thing or two, but you know, I'm not the wildest He-Man, and I'm not a completionist. I never have been, never will be. I like what I like though, and when I like it, I get it, and I enjoy it. And boom. Origins I held off for a long time. I remember when they first came out. I thought, interesting, neat, but I don't need to be getting into this. And then later when Masterverse came out, I got in great time on Masterverse because I could get everything I wanted at almost clearance price. And then, you know, that cartoon collection hit, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a nostalgia hit. I will go for that. And I've enjoyed it thoroughly. So with that, still got some Masters of the Universe to go, but I think this wraps up at least the cartoon collection and the Thundercats crossover for the time being. I know I kind of rapid fired these. Again, you know, they're all sharing molds, so what do you say here? You know they're sharing molds. That's what He-Man does. Let's say, I mean, that made that toy line. I mean, let's face it, Mothman was a straight up repaint of Beastman. So, you know, it saved them a ton of money. But is it a bad thing? You can argue it. I mean, it's the aesthetic of the toy line. It works in that level, and I think you should just leave it at that. You know, if you don't like it, whatever. The fans of it like it, and that's what's important. And, you know, keeps costs down, sure. I think one could argue that the costs could be even lower than what they are. But at the same time, we got other people doing more nefarious things like Hasbro, who are really egregious and, you know, kind of you jump on the big shark before the little shark. Well, you know, honestly, both Mattel and Hasbro are great whites in the ocean of toy making, but I guess it's just that Mattel is less egregious, so you kind of just let it go, because you would want to get the more egregious one, and in this case, it's always Hasbro. So yeah, but Mattel at least knows it's a toy company, so there's that. But hopefully I can keep these prices down for the DC figures. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope they're good figures. I have a little bit of faith just because they do so well with the wrestling figures. But for now, they got me for a little bit longer with Masters of the Universe, but not much longer. I have always been that fair weather fan. Oh, I wouldn't even say that. I would say moderate fan of both Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. I knew who they were. I had some of the toys. I do like Masters of the Universe a little bit better than Thundercats. I will admit that. I would say Thundercats is a little further down, but I enjoy them anyway, and you know, I'll collect what I like. And we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to do all the YouTube stuff, and you guys take care.